China overcame Japan as the second biggest economy in the world in 2011. Although it still has a long way to go before it can claim the #1 title from the United States, China's economy boom is a turning point for this superpower. The Global China Practice is a team of professionals who provide high-quality services through experienced insights of China to and for investors around the world. Peter Feng, Global Chair for KPMG Global China Practice, revisits the past, revealing the national motive behind China opening up its economy, swiftly fueling its prosperity.
The opening up of the economy started back in like 78 when Deng Xiaoping said we've got to change somehow. And that kicked off China's opening up policy. And China started to grow economically in a very fast, significant pace. In particular, in the last decade, there are a lot of foreign direct investment into China from the US, from Europe, from Hong Kong. And the investment focused very much on the east side, on the coastal area. And those investment and those companies has contributed a lot to the growth in China's GDP. And that mainly create exports from China to all over the world. And export makes up a very, very big percentage of the China's GDP and growth of the GDP. And also a second large element is infrastructure by the government, both the state and provincial government. And that is needed. The infrastructure investments are needed to create employment and at the same time investment for the future. And in the last 10 decades, in fact, the third element that make up China's economy, consumption, in fact has been reducing and decreasing. And maybe because of the financial crisis in recent years, China has now come to a stage, maybe a crossroad, to seriously look at the composition of our economic growth. Maybe it's time now we need to seriously think about should there be some kind of adjustment.
So that brings us to the direction that China is in today.
Yeah, I think it's just a reality. In the past decade, 2 decades, because China's has been kind of closed for a long time. When foreign direct investment came, it sort of blossomed, exploded. And because China is such a large country, a lot of population, 1.3 billion, yes, there is a continuous flow of fairly low-cost labor to the coastal area to supply to all these production-based manufacturing companies. But as GDP grow, as people becoming wealthier, there is more sort of demand for increasing in living standard, increasing in income. So we're seeing in recent years rapid increase in labor cost on the coastal area. And also there are government policy to set some minimum wage in various companies start to think, okay, maybe China is becoming not such a low-cost base than it was. And also because of financial crisis, the economy in the US, in Europe, the more developed the countries is not as they were in the past. So export out of China to the rest of the world has been impacted. And I believe that also sends some messages to the government to think about, okay, is this sustainable? Is continues increasing in export sustainable? I guess the answer is probably no. There would be a point that China may not be able to increase export continuously. Recently in March, Premier Wen announced in his working report the estimate for GDP growth will come down from historically at around 8.5% to 7.5%. It's not a significant decrease, but it sends a very important message that the central government is expecting something to slightly slow down. In my view, China will be able to achieve 7.5%, if it's not more, at the end of the year, at the end of the 5-year plan. But that sends a message to people that, okay, maybe we're willing to take action to change our composition of GDP growth, and the price is to have a slightly lower GDP. But we need to do that because that is the only way to create a sustainable growth. So I guess people still have confidence in the Chinese economy. The Chinese executive I've come across and talked to, they still believe growth will be there. In particular, there is an increasing population of middle income people. And in fact, that is growing from maybe tens of millions into closing to 1 billion, or even more than closing to 100 million, or even more than 100 million. And let's say it's just 100 million middle income Chinese. That is a very big market. If you're into a business that would sell products to the 100 million middle income earner, you need to think very seriously your strategies. And a lot of executives have that in their mind, and they believe this 100 million will continue to grow. It will be 200 million, 300 million later. And how to capture that growth, how to capture business. From discussion with other executives from abroad, say in the US, in fact, we've been discussing with a number of US companies right now, and they also see similar development trend in China. There is a lot of talk about increasing domestic consumption. We're seeing a lot of higher earning people in China. They have very large spending power, and they're looking at different options to make their spending. And there are a lot of brands in Europe and US, or even in Asia, a lot of brands that can be appealing to this group of people in China. And they believe it's the right time to go to China to capture this newly developing market.
I see. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.